Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at some products from Switchbot. Now, they reached out to me, asked if I would be interested in covering their brand new Switchbot Smart Curtain, and I said sure, and this is what they sent in total. Now, the curtain Switchbot is, I believe, $100 per unit. And then, of course, you're going to need the Switchbot hub. I believe they have a more expensive version than the Mini, but the Mini will do. I think it's around 40 US. I'll include a link in the description, at least to as many of these products as I can. And this does essentially give you the ability to, from their app, control just about anything with IR connectivity. So this is interesting already at 40 bucks. As you can see, supports Amazon Echo, Google Assistant, Siri, all of those things. If this, then that. And then we've also got, I believe this is $20, their thermometer, which you might be wondering why you'd want that, but it also makes sense. I'll get to that a little bit later. We've also got the actual Switchbot remote, which just allows you to literally control a switch. So this could be on a coffee maker, a light switch, whatever it is, this will sync up with the app and literally switch it. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the actual Switchbot curtain system. Now, they sell these for two different types of systems. I believe they're only available directly from the manufacturer, so I'll include a link for that as well. Let's start off with the Switchbot Mini Hub, because as I stated, you will need this to do anything when it comes to their ecosystem, but it seems like a really good way to retrofit a home if you're looking to do so affordably. You know, things like this years ago didn't exist. So in my house, for example, I've got all different sorts of things, whether we're talking about Nest, Hue, etc. But this is a really good way to do things affordably. That is, if it works well. So the Switch Hub Mini, really small, micro USB port right there for connectivity. You're going to essentially hook this up, install the app. You can wall mount it. It appears right there. And then this is what's going to let you, as I mentioned, I believe this works with any IR device, not just in their database, but you can also manually train. So a good example in my home where I'll try to use this is, for example, fans. My fans are not smart, so I didn't think smart fans were worth it at the time of install back post-hurricane. So this could be something where if my fan remotes can link up with this, then this may be a great way through Switchbot's app to, again, automate my fan system. So, and that's fans throughout the house. That would be a great application. They do also include some 3M double-sided tape for mounting. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Download the app, point your remote at the Hub Mini, and then press any key, because you can train it to do any of those functions. And as they say, bingo, now your remote is learned. So I like this already. There are actually many applications for this, not a few, but you'll need it. Now, the thermometer, essentially, if you're wondering what this would be good for, well, they post it right on the back of the box. You can see if you want to keep an accurate temp on your newborn, infant, if you want to make sure that your fridge is operating to spec, because God knows I just went through a Samsung fridge debacle, and, you know, sometimes what your fridge says isn't what the temperature actually is. Wine preservation, if you have a wine fridge, or in my case, an external fridge, secondary fridge, whatever it may be, even if you have, I guess, a little bit of a bit of a greenhouse, if you have some hydroponics going on. The point is that you can detect humidity and temperature using this sensor. It's just yet another element. They're saying it's Swiss made, and, you know, we'll just see how it works. Let's open it up. And again, the newest product here really is the curtain system. Now, I do not have, unfortunately, a system yet in place. In other words, I have blinds, not curtains, but I do have one particular spot in my home where I likely will set this up. And I believe there's about a $10 price difference between the two types of curtains, the rod systems rather, the track that they support. So here is this unit, also very small, and it is battery operated. You can see they included the battery right there. You can switch between Celsius and Fahrenheit depending on where you live. And I'm trying to open this. It should just slide open. At least that's what it's showing. I'm not looking to... Oh no, it's much easier as usual. So it takes two AAA batteries. So be testing this out as well. This is basically, you know, a starting kit, if you will, for their ecosystem. And that's, I was glad to see that they sent it. Again, some 3M tape for mounting and some instructions. This will be useful as well, even though I do have a Nest system throughout the house. The point is, it is going to permit me to actually put a sensor in places I generally wouldn't. And, you know, the Nest accessories are really expensive. If you want to add one of their, you know, individual thermostat sensors for temperature, you're looking at, I don't know if they're about 40, somewhere in that vicinity. Now this I don't need a knife for. How do you like that? Easy packaging, all thanks to a good friend of mine and a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. If you're familiar, you're familiar. If you're not, can't help you. So, go ahead and pop this open. Let's take a look at the Switchbot remote. Now, as I mentioned, this is literally a remote. So hook this up to, as I stated, a coffee maker, a light switch, whatever it may be. And this little guy will actually flip the switch for you. At least that's my understanding. Download the app, pair it with your Switchbot products, map the keys. And yeah, so they're showing you for Switchbot curtain, for the Switchbot bot. Oh, so I have this wrong. This is just the wireless remote. I take it back. Forget what I said at the top. This is not the Switchbot bot I thought that it was. This is literally a remote in order to activate Switchbot products. So in this case, I misspoke. This would be what you would use to actually, if you wanted a physical remote control for a product you've automated, you could link this up with, for example, the curtain system, and with the press of a button, without having to go to your phone or use a assistant like an Echo or Google Assistant, you could just hit this button and whatever you've tied this to, it will control. So they did not send me that little Switchbot switch, so that's unfortunate, but I'll probably pick one up. So this has Velcro in order to stick it where you need it. Insert your joke there. And I'm looking to see if there's anything else in the package, but that looks like it is it. Some instructions, which of course I will be taking a look at, especially since I misspoke on that. But let's get to the piece de resistance, the brand new offering, which is obviously the most compelling because a lot of people are looking for a system to automate curtains, blinds, and they're really expensive. But here at 100 per unit, I feel like, you know, this is possibly a much better option than the alternative, which I've seen pricing. I mean, when I was rebuilding the house, looked at options for curtain and blind automation, and it was insane. And it still is. Products like this change that. So they're saying you can install it in 30 seconds, which if you can just drop it onto the rail, then sounds about right. Set up your schedule, touch and go. That's the remote, I'm assuming, that I just showed you that I misspoke about. And again, use case scenarios. So waking up to natural light, smart living, because again, this is all about home automation, energy saving, anti-theft. So curtain and the remote, that's the remote I just showed you. You're going to need the Hub Mini at very least. And then they're also showing you the actual thermometer, because in conjunction, all of these pieces that they've pretty much given me are going to essentially open and close your curtains based on temperature preferences as well, which is smart. So that's pretty cool. And of course, voice commands, as I mentioned at the top of the video, supported across the board with all of the ecosystems, even for the Apple user out there. So let's go ahead and open this up. And again, I just think it's a really smart system. And I wish that back when I was automating everything, well, I thought the easy packaging was going to be easy for me, that I would have gotten away with actually being able, I wish that something like this existed, because, you know, it, at first glance, it may seem like it's, you know, a lot of, maybe too many parts, but the fact that they've built out the ecosystem so much, the fact that they've covered so many things, it basically means that anything in your home can be made smart. And that is, well, unfortunately, for a lack of a better way of putting it, very smart. So let's go ahead and dump this thing out. Remember, this is going to attach to the rod system that you have your curtains on. And of course, motorized. I'm assuming that this, well, it looks like a Type-C cable right here, a port rather, for charging. but I was going to bet just about anything that this was going to be based around having a battery on board. That's just what makes sense. But what do I know? Not much, obviously. Let's take a look at the paperwork and see what else we have in the box. Because after all, this does need to receive power. So we've got in here the Type-C cable to connect it, which is an L. For those of you that are wondering, you can see that right there. It's actually an L-shaped to make that connection and not create any snagging, which is smart. And then we've got clips, 4 in total. Let's take a look at those instructions. After all, I'm eventually going to see how this thing works. So in the box, the main body, the hook, pair, rod, the top lid, the Type-C cable, and the clip. And then essentially the instructions of how to connect everything, installation. So that button on the back is how you pair. I'm curious what the battery life on this is in terms of, once you have it charged up. It's compatible with Bluetooth 4.2 and above. So they're giving you some pretty detailed instructions here on the rail rod and U-rail, the different types, so that you understand whether you're using a rod or a track. I think right now they only have the rod and the U-rail. I don't think they have the track system yet, at least last I looked at their website. And they're just giving you, essentially directions on how to select the open mode you prefer. And installing it, you can see right there, you've got to press the button that is right here in order to extend it. And there you have it, so that you can actually lock it on to the rail. Again, this is the pairing button. Adjust the parts. This is going to be some fun. And remember, in terms of affordability, I mean, it's really tough to beat something like this. Everything that I saw, no matter how turnkey it was, I mean, you could buy a car for the quotes I was getting. Maybe not a car you'd want, but you could buy a car. And that says a lot about home automation and where we're at, and the infancy, at least back in 2017, still when I was going through my rebuild post-Hurricane Matthew. So this is going to be interesting. They're showing you essentially how to use the clips that were included, which are right here. And, I've seen a lot of these products, but this is the first one to come into the studio. So that's why I was excited to share it with all of you. But I will do more homework. I will do some testing. I will install an actual curtain, because I do have a very specific place that needs one, a blackout curtain. So this is going to come in hand, and I will eventually update all of you on its proficiency, ease of use, setup, and also just the mini hub in general, and how easy that is to start using for different devices that generally are unfortunately living outside of my smart home, and even though they're inside of my home. Any questions or comments about these Switchbot products, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.